What's going on, folks? I have packed up Stu's garage. I've got my essentials right behind me. I'm here at DSK with the Drift Fox, and we're gonna be doing an install today. So I'm gonna be doing probably like 50% of the work. They're gonna be giving me adult supervision and doing some of the good welding that we need to get done. So what are we doing here today? We're doing coilovers, but not the regular way that you think you would do coilovers. We're actually going to do a cantilever suspension. So my suspension is actually going to live inside of the hatch of the car. So what we've got here is we've got custom-made bell cranks or pivots, pivot arms, whatever you want to call them. These were made by a good buddy of mine, Ivan Kemp, down in Florida. We've got a set of Viking dual adjustable shocks and springs. Those are 550-pound springs. These are basically an 04 Cobra coilover kit. What we've got here is, as you can see, we've got Heim joints to make the connections, and you're going to see how those connect in just a minute. We've got steel, we've got steel pipe, which we're going to make the strut replacements for. These are going to be your push rods, because we're going to take the struts out. We're going to replace them with solid rods, which is going to pivot into the trunk. So basically, doing this install based on pictures that I've seen. I don't have exact measurements, but exact measurements are not super important as long as I have everything even on each side, because I have these Heim joints that screw in and out to be able to do some level of adjustment to things once we get everything in there, as long as it's generally close to where it needs to be. What we've got here is the main support beam, which is going to go between the strut towers, and that's also going to give me some structural rigidity. It's going to be like having a strut tower brace in the back, and that's going to be the foundation that everything is built off of. So the first thing we're going to do, I think my plan of attack is to get everything tacked inside the car and mocked up, and hopefully we'll be able to cut that back out of the car, weld everything down good, and then weld it back into the car and go ahead and do the installation. Now, I know I usually get pretty granular with my installs. I'm not gonna be super detailed on this one, just because if you're doing this level of custom work yourself, chances are you're probably smart enough to figure out most of this stuff for yourself. As always, you know, any kind of weird catch points that we have, I'm gonna let you guys know. Also, I want to show you guys, these are my custom mounts that I made in Stu's garage. But anyways, yeah, I'm not going to be super detailed with this install. I just kind of want to show you guys the process, what it looks like. I want to give a shout out to insert channel here, because I don't remember his name. I followed his installation video for basically research purposes to figure out how to do this. And also, again, shout out to DSK for letting me be here in their shop and helping me out. Alright, so I've got my push rods bolted in that you guys just saw me making, and again, those are going to replace the struts, so they're bolted into the control arms. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab these bell cranks, and we're going to try and get these into the position so that I know exactly where to cut my push rods. Alright folks, quick update. I've got both of the push rods all fabricated up, and we have the bell cranks now mocked up into position. So this is pretty much how they're going to sit. Before I tack everything down, I'm going to go ahead and mock up my shock again. I've got the shock mount on there. I think I'm going to have to end up welding a platform onto the bar there, which you'll see in just a second, and get all that tacked into place. And then pretty soon it's going to be time to pull all this back out and weld everything together finally. Alright folks, so here's a look at the platform, or whatever you want to call it. But this is what's going to support the suspension. Everything is tack welded together, just like you see there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut those tack welds out. I'm going to remove this whole unit, and I'm going to hand it over to Kenny. And well, first I got to clean everything up, because you got to have clean to TIG weld. Then I'm going to hand it over to Kenny, and he's going to make everything solid, add a few reinforcements, and then it's going to go back in the car. TIG welding going on. Kenny the Mad Welder. So this is how it sits. It's basically in there, but we're not going to make our one-day deadline. Once we put a load in it, these guys started to tilt to the side, so we're going to have to add gussets in right here to try and clearance that, or try and give that some more support. And at this point, you know, we're already after business hours, and we're just going to have to do that later. So again, you guys will see it in a couple of seconds when it's done, but I got to go home for tonight. So does Kenny. Alright folks, this is day 2 of the one-day build, and Kenny the Mad Welder. Like I said, we had an issue yesterday. Kenny has decided to redesign my design, so now he's basically making a gusset for these things, this part which was getting ready to fail yesterday. So these supports right here, which basically support the bell cranks, they're getting boxed in, and then we're going to run a beam from here to here. It's basically just going to hold everything in place, and then we're going to slap everything back together, and maybe it'll work. We'll see. All right, we're still hitting snags. I think this is probably the last thing, and probably related to what we were experiencing yesterday, but because I did not use rod ends for that middle pivot point, it was tweaking to the side and causing really weird bindings. So what we did is we basically turned these heim joints into rod ends. So there's one there. Kenny's working on the other one over there, and hopefully that should solve our issues. Alright guys, it's night 3 of my one-day install, and this thing's just about done. So I went ahead and brought the car home. I ended up having to add an additional support here. Basically, that's all a result of my idea to use heim joints in that location rather than to make a solid mount like that style right there. I really just wanted to bring the car home and get it out of DSK's hair, because they were gracious enough to take me in and let me try my project in their shop. I just didn't want to take up any more of their time and space. But Dave, Seth, and Kenny, you guys are the MVPs in this project. I really appreciate what you guys did for me. Your guidance, your help. Definitely, again, shout out to Ivan Kemp, who basically I stole this idea from, the whole entire idea. Thank you to Chris Kaysen at Mustang Parts Fast for basically helping me to find the correct coils that I used. I think that's pretty much it for my shout outs. So I'll be driving this thing for the next few days, making sure that there's no issues with it, you know, with this geometry. Like I said, DSK really wanted me to take my time and go a lot slower on this. That's not my style. I like to slap things together and learn lessons the hard way. So hopefully I don't learn any hard lessons. I've got a track day coming up in 2 weeks, Neon Nights at Shenandoah Speedway. And yeah, never change your car before a track day. But anyways, I'm pretty optimistic about this setup. I really think it's gonna work out, and I'm very happy I did it. So that's pretty much it. Catch you guys next time.